What music were you listening to on the court?
I was listening to before my match. I was listening to "Icon" by Jaden, "Humble" by Kendrick Lamar, and then when I walked on the court, I was listening. I promise you that I don't feel that way right now, but I am not going to let this crush me, and I look forward to the future and making more improvements. And yeah, hopefully next year. I would say what my autograph is inspired. I try to make it as easy to read as possible because growing up, I would collect autographs from tennis players, and I could never remember.
Changing lives. Welcome back to Chatterbox, the one channel on the entire internet where we do not sugarcoat, we do not gatekeep, and we absolutely do not sleep on the stories that actually matter. I am so glad you are here today because what we are about to get into is not just a sports story. It is not just a celebrity gossip moment. What we are about to unpack is a full-blown cultural statement from one of the most extraordinary young women walking the planet right now. We are talking about Coco Gauff, 21 years old, two-time Grand Slam champion, the highest-paid female athlete on Earth for 3 years running, and apparently, the one person in all of celebrity America who actually decided to do something meaningful with her fortune. So buckle up, Chatterbox family. Get your snacks. Get comfortable. Because this story has everything: money, power, legacy, shade being thrown at the entire celebrity class without a single word being spoken, and a young woman who is rewriting what it means to be truly great. Let's set the scene. We are living in an era of performative everything. You know exactly what I am talking about. The moment any major crisis hits, a natural disaster, a social injustice moment, a national emergency, within about 45 minutes, your entire timeline on every social media platform transforms into a flood of celebrity Instagram stories. The infographics start flying. The dramatic black screens go up. The carefully worded captions appear, written by PR teams getting paid six figures a year to make their clients look human. The retweets start racking up thousands of likes. And then, almost always, without fail, by the following Tuesday morning, everyone has moved on. The cause has been used as content. The moment has been monetized for engagement. And the actual problem? Still sitting right there, completely unsolved, waiting for somebody, anybody, to actually do something about it. And then there is Coco Gauff. She did not get the memo that celebrities are supposed to perform compassion and then quietly go back to their mansions. Because while the rest of the celebrity world was typing out hashtags and getting their publicists to craft the perfect statement, Coco opened her checkbook. Twice. And the numbers she wrote down are so staggering for someone her age that they are genuinely hard to wrap your mind around. Let us start with what has the internet absolutely buzzing right now. In January 2026, UNCF, the United Negro College Fund, made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the world of philanthropy, education, and sports. Coco Gauff had just dropped a $150,000 donation to the organization. Not her first, not a one-time feel-good moment. This was her second major gift. Because the year before, in 2025, she had already donated $100,000 to launch the COCO Gauff Scholarship Program, becoming one of the youngest major donors in UNCF's entire 80-year history at just 20 years old. Now at 21, she came back and raised her own bar, $150,000 more, bringing her total commitment to a jaw-dropping $250,000 to support HBCU student-athletes in tennis. $250,000 from a 21-year-old. And she did it quietly, without a single reality TV camera in the room. The COCO Gauff Scholarship Program is not some vague, feel-good initiative that exists only on paper and in press releases. This program has already changed real lives. The first round of scholarships went to 10 eligible student-athletes at some of America's most storied historically black colleges and universities: Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, Albany State University, Clark Atlanta University, Howard University, Livingstone College, and Tuskegee University. Real students, real opportunities, real futures being shaped by the generosity of a young woman who could have spent that money on literally anything else and nobody would have blinked an eye. But she didn't. And that tells you everything you need to know about who Coco Gauff really is. Now here is where this story gets even more powerful, because Coco did not pick this cause randomly. This was deeply personal. This was rooted in her family's history, her identity, and a genuine understanding of what these institutions mean to the Black community in America. When she spoke about the donation, she was not reciting a speech written by a PR agent. She explained that her family's connection to HBCUs goes back generations. Her great-great-grandfather, her grandmothers, her aunts, her uncles, cousins. HBCUs were the backbone of her family's educational legacy before she ever picked up a tennis racket. Let's talk about what this means in the context of the broader celebrity landscape, because the contrast here is genuinely staggering. Coco Gauff earned an estimated $33 million in 2025 alone, according to Forbes, who named her the highest-paid female athlete on the planet for the second year running. Sportico tracked her earnings across 3 consecutive years at the top. 3 years running, she is number 1. She is making money from prize winnings, including her second Grand Slam title at the 2025 French Open, where she came back from a set down to defeat her fierce rival Aryna Sabalenka in a match for the ages. And she is making money from an absolutely massive endorsement portfolio that includes New Balance, Rolex, Mercedes-Benz, Bose, Baker Tilly, Chase Bank, and a roster of partners that would make any Fortune 500 executive jealous. She is, by every measurable financial standard, one of the wealthiest and most powerful young athletes in the world. And yet, she is giving it away, strategically, purposefully, to causes that genuinely need it, in amounts that genuinely move the needle. While other celebrities with comparable wealth are building their 7th vacation property or launching their 4th lifestyle brand, Coco is out here funding scholarships and making real, tangible differences in the lives of young people she has never even met. The math on that is almost impossible to explain unless you accept the simplest explanation of all. She actually means it. Now let's take a step back and look at the full picture of who this young woman is and how she got here, because her philanthropic story did not happen in a vacuum. It is the product of years of intentional development, a family that instilled values in her that no amount of fame could wash away, and a series of pivotal moments that shaped her understanding of what real influence looks like. Cast your mind back to the 2023 U.S. Open. A then 19-year-old Coco Gauff was fighting through the rounds of one of the biggest tournaments in the world, and sitting in the stands, cheering her on with unmistakable pride, were Barack and Michelle Obama. They were not just spectators. When she won that match, they came down to meet with her, and they talked. Not about tennis, about platforms, about responsibility, about legends like Billie Jean King and the legacy of using greatness in sport to fight for something bigger than trophies. Michelle Obama posted about that meeting with genuine admiration, and in that moment, the world got a glimpse of something that the people close to Coco had known for years. The Obamas were not just fans of her game. They saw in her the makings of a future leader. That meeting clearly left an impression on Coco, and the feeling was mutual. Barack Obama has consistently used his post-presidential platform to call on Americans, particularly those with influence and resources, to translate their concern into committed action on issues that matter. His message, delivered time and again to audiences that include the wealthiest and most powerful people in the nation, is essentially a challenge. Stop talking and start doing. Stop performing and start investing. Stop posting and start building. And whether it was that specific conversation at the U.S. Open or the years of mentorship and inspiration that followed, someone clearly took that message to heart. Because when you look at what Coco Gauff has done with her platform and her resources at an age when most people are still figuring out their first apartment, it is clear that she heard the assignment and absolutely crushed it. Now here is where we need to get real about the tennis career itself, because we cannot talk about Coco's philanthropic impact without acknowledging the athletic foundation she is building it on. This is not a one-hit wonder. This is not a player who got lucky at one tournament and has been living off the publicity ever since. Coco Gauff is a legitimate, multidimensional, future Hall of Fame athlete who is right now in the middle of building one of the greatest careers in the history of American tennis. She has 11 career singles titles. She has reached a career-high ranking of world number 2 in singles. She is world number 1 in doubles. She has 2 Grand Slam singles titles, the 2023 U.S. Open and the 2025 French Open, and she is only 21 years old. When Serena Williams was 21, she was great. When Venus Williams was 21, she was great. Coco Gauff, at 21, is already in conversation with both of them. And she has potentially another 15 years of professional tennis ahead of her. And she has done this in a climate that makes it harder, not easier, to stay grounded. Let's be honest about what the celebrity industrial complex does to young athletes, especially young Black women athletes who become globally famous before they have fully grown into adulthood. The pressure is immense. The money is intoxicating. The temptations are everywhere. The voices telling you to go bigger, spend more, flex harder, perform louder. They are constant, they are loud, and they have access to your phone. The fact that Coco Gauff has navigated all of that and emerged not just intact, but actively giving back, actively building, actively using her power to lift others, that is not an accident. That is character. That is the product of extraordinary parenting, a deeply rooted sense of self, and a clarity of values that is frankly humbling to witness. Let's talk for a second about the quiet shame this puts on the rest of the celebrity world, because we cannot avoid that conversation, and honestly, why would we want to? When the highest paid female athlete on the planet, a 21-year-old who has every reason to be focused solely on maximizing her own wealth and comfort, is dropping $250,000 into education and empowerment funds, it creates a standard, a benchmark, a kind of silent, unspoken challenge to everyone else at that income level. What exactly is your excuse? Think about the NBA stars earning $60, $70, $80 million a year who have charitable foundations that exist primarily as tax vehicles and photo opportunities. Think about the Hollywood A-listers with nine-figure net worths who show up to one charity gala a year, pose for the cameras, and call it giving back. Think about the tech billionaires who pledge to donate their fortunes eventually, in theory, at some point in the distant future when the conditions are just right. And then look at Coco Gauff, 21, still in the early stages of her earning potential, with decades of expenses ahead of her, writing real checks to real programs that are already producing real results. The contrast is not just striking. It is a little embarrassing for the establishment, if we are being real. She has also done something that no amount of money can buy, which has become genuinely cool in a way that challenges the definition of what it means to be aspirational. We live in a culture obsessed with flexing wealth, the private jets, the designer everything, the multiple properties, the bottle service, the yacht photos. And there is nothing inherently wrong with enjoying success. But Coco has introduced a different kind of flex. The flex of actually doing something. The flex of showing up for your community in a way that leaves a mark. The flex of being the youngest major donor in an 80-year-old organization's history, not because you wanted the press, but because you saw a gap and you filled it. That is a different energy entirely. And for a generation that is increasingly aware of inequality, increasingly skeptical of performative activism, and increasingly hungry for authentic leadership, Coco Gauff is providing something rare and genuinely inspiring. What makes the HBCU Scholarship Initiative particularly powerful is the specificity of it. Coco did not write a check to a general education fund and call it a day. She identified a very specific problem, the underfunding of tennis programs at historically Black colleges and universities, and she created a targeted solution designed to address that exact gap. The COCO GAUFF'S scholarship program is not just giving students money. It is creating a pipeline. It is saying to young Black tennis players across America, there is a path for you. You can play the sport you love and get an education at an institution that will honor your full identity. You do not have to choose between the court and the classroom, between your sport and your culture. I have already put up the resources to make sure you do not have to make that impossible choice. That kind of thinking, strategic, specific, solutions-oriented, is not just admirable in a 21-year-old. It is extraordinary. It is the kind of thinking you expect from seasoned philanthropists who have spent decades working in the nonprofit space. The fact that Coco is applying it instinctively, from a place of genuine personal connection and community understanding, suggests that what we are watching right now is not just an athlete having a charitable moment. We are watching the early stages of a generational philanthropic voice being developed and sharpened in real time. And here is the part of the story that should really make you stop and think. Coco Gauff is 21 years old. She has been the highest paid. Serena Williams spent years building her own philanthropic legacy, the Serena Williams Fund, advocacy work around maternal health disparities, educational initiatives. Billie Jean King fought for decades to create equality in prize money and to change the culture of women's sports entirely. Venus Williams battled for years to ensure that female athletes were valued at the same level as their male counterparts. These women are legends not just because of what they did on the court, but because of what they did with the platform the court gave them. And right now, watching Coco Gauff move through the world with the grace, the intelligence, and the generosity that she is demonstrating, it is impossible not to feel that she is the next chapter in that story. She is the next name on that list. She is carrying a torch that was passed to her by greatness, and she is not just holding it steady, she is making it burn brighter. The sports media loves to obsess over her rankings and her rivalry with Aryna Sabalenka, the back and forth between two of the most compelling competitors the women's game has seen in years. They love to analyze her serve, debate her coach decisions, speculate about her schedule, and all of that is fine. But the real story, the one that will matter in 20 years when we are looking back at this era of tennis and this era of celebrity culture, is the story of a young woman who decided that being the best in the world at something was not enough, who decided that the money and the platform and the influence that came with that excellence had to mean something beyond personal gain, who decided, at 21, to be the kind of person that her community, her sport, and her generation could actually point to and say, that is what it looks like when you do it right. The ripple effect of what Coco is doing is already starting to show. When an athlete of her profile makes moves like this, publicly, repeatedly, with increasing generosity, it creates a new cultural norm. It raises the bar. Other athletes, other celebrities, other wealthy young people are watching. They see the reception. They see the respect. They see that the world does not just notice what Coco is doing. The world is genuinely moved by it, genuinely inspired by it. And inspiration, when it is grounded in real action, is contagious. If even a fraction of the athletes and entertainers and tech entrepreneurs who follow Coco's story decide to redirect even a portion of their resources towards something real, towards something specific, towards something that actually addresses a genuine gap in their community, the cumulative impact of that is almost impossible to calculate. And maybe that is the most powerful thing about all of this. Coco Gauff is not just giving money. She is modeling something. She is demonstrating, with her choices, that a different kind of celebrity is possible, that fame and generosity are not in conflict, that being the best does not have to mean being the most, that a 21-year-old with $33 million in annual earnings can look at the world around her, identify where the need is greatest, and show up for it in a way that is thoughtful, personal, strategic, and genuinely transformative. She is giving the next generation of athletes and entertainers a different blueprint to follow. And that might be worth even more than the $250,000. So here is where we land, Chatterbox family. Coco Gauff is not just the best tennis player of her generation. She is not just the highest-paid female athlete on the planet. She is not just the young woman who came back from a set down in the French Open final to dismantle the world's best player in front of the entire world. She is all of that, and she is also becoming something rarer and arguably more important. She is becoming a genuine example of what it looks like when extraordinary talent meets extraordinary values. When the biggest platform in the game is used not to perform, but to produce. When the question changes from how do I look to what do I leave behind. At 21 years old, Coco Gauff has already given $250,000 to fund the education of the next generation of Black student athletes. She has become the youngest major donor in an 80-year-old organization's history. She has built a scholarship program that is actively putting students through college right now, today, while she is still competing at the highest level of her sport. She has launched her own business enterprise designed to channel her commercial power into lasting impact. And she has done all of this while winning Grand Slams, climbing the rankings, and building one of the most dominant athletic careers of her era. And listen, if this video hit different for you today, if you learned something new, if you felt inspired, or if you just love the fact that Chatterbox always brings you the stories that actually matter with the real context they deserve, then do me one small favor. Smash that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it means the world in terms of helping this channel reach more people who deserve to hear stories like this one. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are building something real over here, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. And hit that notification bell so you are the first to know every single time we drop a new video. We are here every week bringing you the biggest stories in sports, pop culture, and everything in between, told to Chatterbox